Have you ever stepped into the dating scene thinking, this time it'll be different, only to find yourself tangled in the same knots of confusion, discouragement, or disappointment? You're not alone. Modern dating can feel like a high-stakes game show. The buzzers go off the moment you say or do the wrong thing, and the prize always seems beyond reach. From ever-changing social norms to the dizzying impact of technology and social media, it can seem as if the rules of romance are shifting right under your feet. Yet here's what no one else may be telling you. This whirlwind you're experiencing could actually be your greatest advantage. Yes, you read that correctly. Despite the chaos, this is a powerful moment for women to redefine what it means to date, to set healthier boundaries, and to attract the kind of relationship that truly elevates your life. Think of it as an opportunity to raise your standards and become crystal clear about what you want, rather than settling for less. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed, uncertain if you should chase, play it cool, or simply give up, stay right here. Because in these next few minutes, you're not just getting dating tips. You're about to unlock a fresh perspective on men, relationships, and the unique brand of confidence that works in today's world. Let's dive into 6 powerful truths that will have you nodding your head, reevaluating your approach, and most importantly, staying optimistic about love. 1. Healthy expectations are a prerequisite, not a luxury. If you've been on a few dates lately, you might notice how quickly some interactions turn sour when expectations aren't properly managed. Many women worry that holding firm to certain standards, like consistent communication or mutual respect, could scare a man away. The truth? Clear expectations actually repel the wrong men and attract the right ones. Believe it or not, many men find clarity refreshing because it removes the guesswork. Stating what you need without apology helps filter out those who have zero intention of meeting you halfway. So the next time you catch yourself thinking, maybe I'm asking for too much, remember, you deserve the basics of decency and respect. Period. 2. The numbers game doesn't have to break your spirit. You've probably heard the idea that dating is a numbers game. Swipe enough times, meet enough men, and eventually someone will click. At least that's the theory. In practice, it can feel exhausting. However, it's time to shift your mindset. Every new encounter is less about, am I closer to finding the one? And more about, what am I learning about myself through this interaction? By making each date an opportunity for self-discovery, you automatically take pressure off both parties. When there's less pressure, there's more room for authenticity. That authenticity leads to more meaningful connections, or quicker exits if the chemistry's off. Either outcome is a victory, because you're refining your path forward. 3. Social shifts demand fresh approaches. Our society has evolved at lightning speed. Traditional dating scripts don't always translate well anymore. Gone are the days when one formula fit everyone. He must always initiate, or she must never reveal how she truly feels until the 3rd date. With text messages, DMs, and endless streams of online profiles, the game has changed. So let go of rigid, outdated dating rules. Seek honest conversations that fit your lifestyle, your values, and your vision for a modern relationship. Not every man will be ready for this kind of transparency, but trust me, the ones who are will stand out like a bright light in the dark. 4. Confidence trumps perfection. Modern dating culture can trick us into believing we must be flawless to stand out. Whether it's filtering our photos to the brink of unrecognition or rehearsing the perfect lines before a date, we often become obsessed with getting it right. But here's an eye-opening reality. Perfection isn't what magnetizes a truly compatible partner. Confidence does. Real confidence isn't about ego or arrogance. It's about self-awareness and self-acceptance. It's knowing you can handle disappointment as much as you can handle success. When you project that vibe, men notice. A woman who unapologetically embraces her quirks, passions, and scars will be far more compelling than someone who hides behind a manufactured persona. How do you cultivate this brand of confidence? Begin by neutralizing your inner critic. When that little voice starts whispering, "You're not skinny enough, you're not smart enough," or "You're too old," challenge it by asking, according to whom? Second, celebrate small victories. Did you speak your mind in a situation where you'd usually shrink back? Did you set a boundary or try something new? Pat yourself on the back. These little moments feed into a stronger, more grounded sense of self. And remember, a confident woman isn't afraid to show warmth or vulnerability. In fact, healthy vulnerability is one of the highest forms of confidence because it signals you're comfortable with who you are, even if that includes some raw edges. Instead of striving to be perfect, strive to be authentic. Men seeking meaningful connections will be drawn to that energy like moths to a flame. 5. Communication is your biggest asset. Use it wisely. Communication styles can make or break a potential relationship faster than you can say, "He left me on read." But good communication is more nuanced than just text him back quickly or say exactly what's on your mind. You need a blend of honesty, tact, and timing. Honesty. Yes, share what you're looking for. Yes, state your boundaries. But radical honesty doesn't mean you have to overshare all of your personal history on date number 1. It means being truthful when it counts, like speaking up if something feels off or clarifying your stance on exclusivity. Tact. The way you convey your message can make a world of difference. Let's say you notice certain behaviors that bother you. You could say, "You're so inconsiderate, you never think about my schedule." Or you could say, "When our schedules don't line up, I feel overlooked. Could we figure out a better system?" The second approach invites collaboration rather than confrontation. Timing. Understanding when to bring up specific topics, like exclusivity, deal breakers, or future plans, can save both parties needless stress. If you're on a first date, you don't have to list out your entire relationship history. But as things progress, don't wait until you're deeply emotionally invested to reveal critical information or ask where he stands. By combining honesty, tact, and timing, you'll weed out the men who can't or won't communicate effectively. And here's a hint. A man who consistently dodges transparent communication isn't likely to magically become more open down the road. Number 6. Embrace the adventure mindset. Somewhere along the line, many of us started viewing dating as a survival scenario. Dodge heartbreak, avoid humiliation, and make it to the finish line with your dignity intact. But that defensive stance often keeps us from experiencing the real excitement of meeting new people. Instead, why not see dating as an adventure, complete with plot twists, comedic mishaps, and yes, moments of genuine connection? Shift from outcome to experience. When we date purely to find the one, every interaction is weighed against that singular goal. If he's not marriage material, the date feels like a waste. But when you embrace an adventure mindset, even an unremarkable date is a story, a lesson, or maybe just a good laugh with friends. Stay curious. Take a genuine interest in the men you meet. Ask open-ended questions and really listen to the answers. Curiosity not only makes you more present and engaging, but it also prevents you from jumping to conclusions based on superficial snapshots. Learn to pivot. Suppose you date someone for a month and realize it's not working. Does that automatically mean you failed? Not necessarily. Part of the adventure is acknowledging when a particular path has reached its end. Pivot with grace, extract the lessons, and carry on. This adventurous spirit also helps you remain flexible. The modern world offers many ways to meet potential partners. Apps, social events, community gatherings, virtual meetups. Rather than complaining about too many options, see it as a robust buffet. Sample what resonates, skip what doesn't, and trust that each experience is enriching your understanding of yourself and the type of relationship you truly desire. Real-life scenarios and modern pitfalls. Let's pause to address 2 common stumbling blocks that many women face in today's dating world. 1. The instant exclusivity trap. You match on a dating app, you chat for a few days, you go on one great date, and suddenly there's an unspoken assumption that you owe each other loyalty. While exclusivity can blossom quickly when there's a strong connection, it can also create an unbalanced dynamic if you rush in without any conversation about it. Solution. If you sense exclusivity is implied but not stated, bring it up. Say, "I value this connection and I'd like to see where it goes. Do you feel the same?" If he balks or avoids the question, you have valuable information. He might not be ready for a committed path. 2. Textual overanalysis. With communication often reduced to screens, it's easy to misinterpret tone or assign meaning to every punctuation mark. Did he use 3 dots instead of a period? Did he wait 6 hours to respond? Solution. Don't build a castle of assumptions on the shaky foundation of texting habits. If you notice a pattern that genuinely concerns you, address it verbally or in person if possible. Otherwise, assume the best until proven otherwise. Overthinking texts is a surefire way to drive yourself up the wall, and it rarely leads to clarity. The psychology behind attraction. Now that we've discussed the practical how-tos, let's tap into a bit of psychology to deepen our understanding of what really attracts men at a core, emotional level. Contrary to the age-old stereotype, it's not just about looks. Though physical attraction plays a role, of course, true attraction also involves emotional resonance and self-assured energy. Authentic self-presentation. Men, like anyone, are wired to pick up on non-verbal cues. Are you fidgety because you're trying to memorize a script of what you think he wants to hear? Or are you genuinely relaxed and engaged? When your outward demeanor aligns with your inner state, that congruence is magnetic. Positive emotional vibe. Research consistently shows that people gravitate toward others who make them feel good. This doesn't mean you have to be a cheerleader 24/7, but if your overall energy projects optimism, warmth, and humor, you become a person others want to be around. Boundary setting. Believe it or not, setting boundaries is extremely attractive. Why? Because it signals self-respect, emotional maturity, and clarity. If you're comfortable saying no to what doesn't serve you, you signal to potential partners that your self-worth isn't up for negotiation. Individuality and purpose. Cultivate your passions, maintain interests outside the relationship, and never apologize for having a full life. A sense of purpose elevates your entire vibe. This sense of purpose, whether it's in your career, your community, or your hobbies, makes you not only more appealing, but also more resilient in the face of dating ups and downs. Controversial take. Sometimes you need to make the first move. Here's where we get into slightly more provocative territory. Many of us grew up with the notion that the man should always initiate, or that any deviation from this script is a show of desperation. In today's dynamic world, that belief can hold you back from incredible connections. Why you might need to initiate. Clarity in a noisy environment. With online dating and social media, men can be bombarded by mixed signals and confusing cues. Sometimes they're unsure whether you're interested. A small, genuine gesture, like a friendly hello, a compliment, or a lighthearted invitation to continue a conversation, can break the ice in a way that transforms a missed connection into a real one. Control over your narrative. Instead of waiting passively for a man to decide whether he wants to approach you, you can steer your dating journey in a more active, empowered way. Filter out insecure or non-committal types. If a man is threatened or turned off by you making a respectful, friendly approach, that's a sign he may not be prepared for the kind of modern, egalitarian relationship you want. Does this mean you have to chase anyone? Absolutely not. There's a subtle but significant difference between initiating and chasing. Initiating can be as simple as smiling and saying, "Hey, your perspective on that topic was really interesting. I'd love to hear more." Or sending the first message on a dating app. Chasing involves ignoring signs of disinterest and continually pursuing someone who's not reciprocating, an entirely different and usually unhealthy scenario. Bold yet actionable advice for today. 1. Establish a non-negotiable list. Write down the top 3 qualities you absolutely cannot compromise on. Maybe it's empathy, ambition, or emotional availability. Refuse to settle for someone who blatantly ignores these. Having a short, focused list keeps you from getting lost in superficial checklists of tall, short, has, doesn't have a certain type of car, etc. 2. Embrace the 90-10 listening principle. When you're on a date, spend 90% of the time genuinely listening and 10% of the time speaking. This doesn't mean you clam up entirely, but it does mean you actively create a space where the other person feels heard. Doing so reveals a lot about who they are and what they value. You'll also stand out in a world where people are often dying to talk about themselves. 3. Practice quick exit strategies. This might sound a bit cutthroat, but sometimes you need to exit quickly from scenarios that clearly don't serve you. Whether it's early red flags or toxic communication styles, give yourself permission to bow out. There's no value in sticking around to see if a disrespectful pattern magically disappears. 4. Create micro-challenges. Dating can feel monotonous if you're always going to the same places and asking the same questions. Shake it up. Challenge yourself. This month, I'll try one new activity, like a cooking class or a charity event, and I'll go with an open mind. Fresh environments often lead to fresh encounters, opening the door for more organic interactions. 5. Don't shy away from emotional depth. Far too often, we keep conversations safely at the surface level, out of fear we'll scare someone off. In reality, many men appreciate a woman who isn't afraid to talk about deeper topics: happiness, purpose, personal growth, when the timing feels right. Those deeper conversations forge a more meaningful bond, even if you ultimately discover you're not a perfect match. Reframing failure as growth. Perhaps you're reading this with a tinge of skepticism because you've experienced heartbreak. Maybe more than once. Remember, heartbreak is not evidence that you're bad at love, but that you had the courage to open your heart in the first place. If you take the lessons from each disappointment and apply them to future endeavors, you're already ahead of the game. Refuse to define yourself by past rejections or endings. Each relationship, or almost relationship, shapes your emotional intelligence and clarity. Instead of viewing those moments as failures, see them as necessary steps on your path toward the relationship that's right for you. A note on societal pressure. It's impossible to discuss modern dating without touching on societal and sometimes familial expectations. Whether it's the pressure to marry by a certain age or the perpetual question of when are you going to settle down, these outside influences can cloud your judgment. Recognize that you and you alone live with the consequences of your romantic choices. If you choose a partner just to appease others, you'll be the one navigating that unsatisfying relationship day after day. On the flip side, if you wait for a connection that truly lights you up, you'll reap the long-term benefits, even if it takes a bit longer than some external timeline suggests. You've made it this far, which means you're already investing in yourself and your future relationships. That's huge. But reading or watching alone won't transform your dating life. You've got to put these principles into practice. Start today. Pick one tip. Maybe it's clarifying your non-negotiables or reframing your mindset around a first date as an adventure rather than a pass-fail test, and commit to it for the next couple of weeks. Stay flexible. If something doesn't quite click or feels forced, adjust. The rules of dating were never one size fits all. Trust your instincts. Your gut knows when something resonates or feels off. Learn to listen to that. Above all, keep your sense of wonder alive. Yes, the dating world can be unpredictable, and no, it's not always fair, but it can also be thrilling, illuminating, and a chance to discover not just who's out there, but who you are when you're bravely opening yourself to love. When you embrace these 6 truths, clear expectations, a growth-focused mindset, updated approaches for a changing world, unstoppable confidence, strategic communication, and an adventurous spirit, you won't just survive the modern dating scene, you'll thrive in it. And the men who appreciate and respect everything you bring to the table, they'll show up and they'll stay. So here's to your journey, full of insights, bold moves, and the kind of connection that's worth every twist and turn along the way.